What if I told you there's an animal so elusive it's basically a real-life cryptid, yet it's scientifically confirmed? Today, we're meeting three of Asia's weirdest and least-known creatures: a unicorn of the forest, a mammal that glides like a living kite, and a salamander so huge it looks like it crawled out of prehistory. Let's go from impossible to airborne to ancient. First up, the Saola, often nicknamed the Asian unicorn, not because it has one horn, but because it's so rare that for years people barely believed it existed. It lives in the remote, rugged forests of the Annamite range, along the border of Vietnam and Laos. Picture this: dense jungle, steep valleys, constant rain, and an animal that seems to move like a shadow through it all. The Saola looks a bit like an antelope meets cow: sleek body, dark coat, and two almost perfectly parallel horns. But the real weirdness is its mystery. It's not commonly seen in the wild, and much of what we know comes from traces, like tracks, local knowledge, and the occasional camera trap. And that's the heartbreaking part. An animal can be both real and still feel like folklore, because it's disappearing before we truly get to understand it. If the Saola teaches us anything, it's that the world still has secrets, especially in the places we don't often look. Next, the Sunda Colugo, also called a flying lemur. Even though it's not a lemur and it doesn't actually fly, it glides, and it glides far. The Colugo lives across parts of Southeast Asia, and it's basically built like a living parachute. It has a huge membrane of skin, called a patagium, that stretches from neck to fingertips, all the way to toes and tail. When it launches from a tree, it spreads out like a kite and can glide from trunk to trunk with shocking control. And it's not doing that for fun. Gliding is survival. It saves energy, avoids predators, and helps it move between feeding spots without coming down to the forest floor. But here's the cutest and weirdest detail. Colugos are intensely devoted parents. A baby colugo clings to its mother, and she can even sort of wrap the gliding membrane around the baby like a blanket while traveling. So if the Saola is the forest's ghost, the Colugo is the forest's silent superhero, floating through the night without a sound. Now for something that feels prehistoric: the Japanese Giant Salamander. This massive amphibian lives in cold, fast-flowing streams in Japan, and it can get enormous. Thick-bodied, wide-headed, and wrinkled like a living river rock. It spends a lot of time tucked under rocks, waiting, and when food comes close, fish, insects, smaller animals, it strikes with a sudden gulp. Here's the truly weird part: it doesn't just look ancient. Giant salamanders are part of an old lineage, like a window into what amphibians were doing millions of years ago. It's not flashy, it's not cute in a typical way, but it's one of those animals that makes you feel like nature has been running the same wild experiment for a very, very long time. So, three animals, three kinds of weird. The Saola, a near myth in the mountains. The Sunda Colugo, a gliding blanket with big night eyes. And the Japanese Giant Salamander, a river-dwelling time traveler. Comment below, which of these would you want to see in the wild, and why? And if you want a part 2 with even stranger animals from Asia, hit like, subscribe, and tell me what region to explore next.